After your brother died, and I'm asking you this because this is how I felt. Did you feel like you were waiting for the other shoe to drop after your brother
Always
died?
do. I
Yeah.
always do. Absolutely always do. Even especially if something like if I feel calm,
Mhm.
if I feel happy, if I feel like things are okay, I will almost have mini panic attacks about, okay, something bad is probably gonna happen. Like it never gets this calm. The seas are never this calm, right? So something is always gonna happen. I still if my parents call me outside of, like, their normal hours, if they call me
Right.
early in the morning, I will immediately not be able to breathe, and I'm like, "Hello?" Like, waiting for them to tell me something's wrong, you know what I mean? Like, who died? What happened? It took me a long time to tell people, like, "You can't do that to me." It gives me a mini heart attack, but like I said, right, your body doesn't forget. So, it's immediate, and I'm like, even if I know it's okay, I still have to go through the whole, "Oh, somebody's dead." Like, the phone's ringing, it's somebody's dead, something happened, you know what I mean? And then
Right.
you're like, "My God, like, why do you have to always jump into the deep end of the pool? Like, why can't we just answer the phone and see? Maybe it's not that way," you know?
Right.
But there is no logic in it.
To me, it's like I've seen life differently now because
Mm,
I feel like you're on this side of it now. And like those of us that are on this side of it
yeah,
in this club that we don't want to be in, we can see things differently from people who are still on the other side. I so value the little moments now. Just
yeah,
like you say, just walking the dog or just these little happy moments, just those little, even mundane moments.
yeah.
Even just like being outside with my ducks,
Mhm.
that half hour that I'm out there and I don't have my phone and nothing else is going on. There's nothing else wrong in the world right then
Right.
because I know that anything can happen at any moment.
Yeah.
And you're just, even though you know that nothing logically is probably going to happen in your immediate little world, you still have this feeling of, no, yeah, it can. Yeah,
Yeah,
everything
no,
can
I
fall
always have
apart.
the vibration of,
Yeah,
you can be happy right now, but this is not gonna last, right?
yeah. In an instant, everything can change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, it just takes an instant, right?
Yep.
Like, and it literally changes everything, and nobody really gets that, I think, too, until your instance has happened, and then you're like, "Huh, I got it."
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, I got it. Yeah, I struggle with a few things. That's one of them, right? The other thing is I don't like the happy moments. I love the happy moments, but I don't like the because there's always that grief like undertone, right? So it's hard to just literally be happy. Or sometimes if I'm overly grateful, I'm like, "Ugh, I probably should figure out a way to share this somehow or do this, or maybe I got to give back some of this or something, that kind of thing." And I always try to think like if Mark showed up on my doorstep right now, if he's knocked on my door, showed up at my doorstep right now, would he be proud of the things that I've done, the way that we raised our son, how Christian turned out, where I'm at in my life? Would he be proud of those things? And I can say the same to my brother. Would he be proud of his niece or how we've kept in touch or how we've done this or that or whatever? And I think you also have to come to a point though where you're like, am I proud of what I've done? Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to give yourself some credit too. And that's always been really hard for me as well. But like I said, I did the best with what I had. I knew better and did better. I just don't think there's really a right or wrong way to do it. I think you do whatever works for you in the moment to get you to the next moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
There's no manual for this.
no, no, no. And even if there was, it wouldn't be the same, right?
Right.
I lost Mark, but then another family could have lost their military member or whatever, and it would be the same but different, right? Where I lost my brother, and if, Susie lost her brother, we're the same but different. The relationships are different. Dynamic is different. And like you said, Mark was so easy to talk to.
Mhm.
Conversations were always like his playlists, right? They bounced all over the place in every genre and whatever. And he was the one that I kind of grew up with, like in my most formative years when I was, well, when we were living an adult life as children. And I think the thing that I missed the very most about him is just him being there. A couple months ago, I actually I was out running errands. I had a lot on my mind, so I was trying to stay really busy because that's how I combat things sometimes. And I literally was in my car and I thought, well, I'm gonna call Mark and see what he thinks about. And I stopped and I was like, man, it's
Mhm.
18 years since I called Mark. Like, why in the world would that come up? And I texted Christian and I was like, I thought about calling your dad today. It was the weirdest thing, but I still have Mark's phone number in my phone. Like,
I still
I,
have my mom's. Yep.
yeah, like back to the things you just can't, like, I know it's there. I know I'll never call it. I don't know if somebody else has the number. I don't care. It's just going to be in my phone because I don't want to delete it. Right.
Right. I think Mark would be like everything that you have done, everything Christian has done, everything that, everybody around y'all, like every
I think he would be shocked, especially with the gathering that we
yeah.
still gather every year to celebrate his life and that kind of thing. I think that would definitely surprise him. I think he would also be surprised, just like you and me, good and bad, of who stepped up and who didn't, right? I think that, yeah, he would for sure be proud of Christian. Christian could do no wrong in his eyes when he was around. So now that he is a fully functioning grown person, I think he would absolutely be proud of him too. But in the sense of always looking out for everybody else, I've never really stopped to think about my own part of that. So I'm always struggling to make sure that I would still be in good graces. I'm still looking for some kind of approval, I feel like,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. That's Dave asked me that about my parents. He's like, "Are you still looking for their approval?" And I'm like, "Well, no, but also on some level, yes."
So I was walking my dogs when I was listening to that podcast. And when he says, "Are you still looking for approval from your parents?" It was right before it cuts to the next episode,
Yeah.
right? And when he said that, I was like, "Yep." Loud, out loud, walking my dogs with earphones in. I was like, "Yep." And I was like, "I'd do it too." Yep. And then so I had to switch to the next one. And you're like,
Yeah.
"Really?" And I'm like, "I do."
I've got that list that I'm going through of everything that mom wanted done with the house, and I've done several of those things. And granted, it was things that needed to be done. These aren't just things, wishes that she had. I mean, these are like things that had to be done. So on some level, you seek approval, but you know that you're not getting it. So,
Stop you from, I mean, logically it should, right?
right,
I know Mark's never going to show up at my front door and go, "Man, you
right,
did a good job. I'm really proud of you," you know? But I'll be damned if I still don't think about it all the time. If I'm gonna do this, how is this gonna affect everybody else? That's my thing. Have you ever seen the movie Runaway Bride with Julia Roberts, right? And so she likes her eggs, however, the guy that she's with at that moment likes her eggs, right? I don't know how I like my eggs. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
right.
feel like I've ever really, until recently, kind of stepped back and been like, what do you want? You know what I mean? If you had to make a decision without taking into account what everybody else in your life thought about, what is it that you want?
Hmm.
I'm trying to figure out how I like my eggs.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to get into that frame of mind and to think like that when there is someone else there. But
Yeah.
when you're suddenly like, I started having those thoughts during COVID in that
Mhm.
isolation. Like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Because it's no longer a collective decision on something, or,
Right.
it's no, you have to make the decision. And that was a lot for me because usually I would look to one, especially when it came to things with the house, I would look to them on how to make those decisions. And now, no, 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 it's my decision. I have to decide.
You asked me what time works for you. What time do you want to talk? I was like, I don't know, whatever works for you. I can't make those decisions because all the decisions that I needed to make, I did, you know, like, so I could be like, Mark, what about this school? What do you think about
Right.
that? How do you think we should punish him? How do you think this should happen? How should we have this talk? None of those things happen. It was how you have to do it. You have to be the good guy. You have to be the bad guy. And so decisions that I have to make, I'll make. Decisions I don't have to make, I'm like flexible.
So I refer to it as decision fatigue because that's what it got to be for me because I had to make all the decisions for everything.
Yeah.
And like you, I'm like, even now trying to decide what I want to eat for dinner, I'm just like, I don't, there's some pimento cheese in there and I'll just stick a cracker in it and eat because I cannot think anymore and make a decision about things like
Yep.
that
Yep.
because I've made all the big decisions. So
Yep.
now
You
the
do the
little,
things you have to make,
yeah,
right? And then the other ones, you're like, I don't know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's overwhelming. And when you're thrust into a life that you never imagined,
Yeah.
it takes a lot out of you.
It's exhausting.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think it takes a lot of effort to put on the I'm okay mask. I think it takes a lot of effort when you take that mask off and you have to deal with what you have to deal with. Like the whole thing is just entirely exhausting on such a deep level. It's hard, man. I mean, it's hard. It takes a toll on you mentally, it takes a toll on you physically. And like I said, it's like no matter what you do, I am always a grasp away from getting choked out by grief. I know it. It's there all the time. And like I said, it could be a random Tuesday. It could be a song. It could be a saying. It could be something that I think Mark would think was funny, whatever it is. And sometimes I'm like, that would be hysterical. Or sometimes I'm like, full tears, don't know why I just did that. How do I get out of this spiral? And it just
Yeah.
spirals, but yeah, I mean, ongoing, right?
I'll tell you a funny story. So I have you heard the term God winks?
Yep.
Okay. So I had a little Mark wink once. It was actually the night of his visitation.
Okay.
And I I was walking out the back doors and Mark's sense of humor.
Yep.
I was walking out the back doors and there were two Marines, very nice looking Marines standing there. They opened up the doors for me. There was a little carport, like a storm or something coming up. It was very windy outside. And I walk as soon as they open those doors, my skirt just goes up. These very stoic Marines who could not say or do anything, their faces turned as red as mine. And I immediately, it was my Marilyn Monroe moment. I immediately threw down my skirt and I went, thanks, Mark. The moments I knew he had something to do with that.
Yeah.
And it just, to me, that was sort of one of those last,
Yeah. I look for those moments. Like,
yeah,
people, I'm sure people will think I'm crazy if all the things that I do, but I very often look at a clock. I was playing Sudoku on my iPad the other day, and the front little thing, the numbers are 316. Those are the numbers on the little app thing. That's Mark's birthday.
yep.
I often wake up in the middle of the night at 3:27. That's Mark's anniversary. I will see things or do things, or I'll speak about something, think about something, and then see it later, which could all be explained, right? Like when you want to buy a car and you settled on a car and then you see that car everywhere. But I always catch the little things, especially with the numbers and the patterns, kind of thing. I look for that. Sure. But Christian does the same thing. And even the stars, like Mark has a star in Orion, and my brother has a star in the Big Bear, like inside the Big Dipper.
Yeah.
And so, when Mark was deployed, I used to tell Christian all the time, right? He can see the same moon, same stars that we see. And that was what kind of kept us like all, I don't know, in the same world, right?
Right.
And even now, like Christian has a rooftop kind of patio and he'll spend his wind down time outside under the night sky. I do the same exact thing. We were out with my neighbors looking at the planetary parade the other night, right?
Yeah.
Orion's bright in the sky. When you're just like, it's just kind of just catches me every once in a while. I'm like, okay, like, Orion's in the sky. It's visible right now. Like it's fine, or if I need to find the moon, you know what I mean? Like I just need to whisper some things to the moon and hope that she carries it off to wherever it needs to go. No, that kind of thing. Like I'm always looking for the little kind of nudges, the little kind of, even the things that I'm like, why? Thank you for that. Remember? but I always look for the little things. And crazy as it is, I think that falls under the you do whatever makes sense for your heart.
It's whatever helps keep you going. It's whatever helps get
Yeah.
you from one moment to the next,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I totally agree. I think that it is quite healing to talk to somebody who gets it, right? Like we said, my loss isn't the same as your loss, but loss is still loss, right?
We both understand grief, even if our grief is different.
Yeah. And I think that for people that don't, it's very hard to understand. Like I said, I wouldn't wish that. Like, congratulations that you don't understand. I think that's a
Right.
blessing. I think for those of us that do, I think that grief is one of those things that not a whole lot of people talk about. And like
Yeah.
you said, it's been 18 years. Like, you should probably be over it by now. Or like that kind of thing. You should probably be married again. Or you should probably do all these things. And I'm like, I'm gonna do what I wanna do. Like, I get it, I appreciate it, I respect your opinion, all the things, but this is my life, and I do have baggage, and I don't even say that as a bad thing, but I have a ton of guy friends because I have Marks Marines. I have people that I have a very dark humor with or whatever, end of March, like, March is gonna be a hard month for me.
Mhm.
Good, bad, indifferent, whoever's in my life, like, that's just gonna be a tough month. I still keep in touch with Mark's mom and stepdad. I talk to my in-laws almost every single day, and they're still my in-laws, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I still have all of the pieces of me that other people would consider baggage now, and
Yeah.
I kinda come as a whole package, and I think almost that I would you almost need somebody who has been through it too. You know what I mean? To understand, like, the ins and outs of it. But I think too, I still need to kind of figure out some things for me as well. I think when you go through it that, the learning and the growing and that part doesn't ever really finish either.
Yeah.
I think you know better, do better, or you experience something, you're like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that again."
I had a friend, one of my best friends, and she didn't really know what to say to me when my parents died. It was one of those, "Let's just think happy thoughts. Let's just," that, and I'm like, "Okay, thanks, but no." Like,
Yeah,
it's because it's always there. It's always just right under the surface. And then she lost her mom 2 years ago, and she reached out to me because I knew her mom. She reached out to me, and she's like, "I get it."
yeah,
She's like, "I get what you were trying to say now." Like, it's always there, and you hate for somebody to have to lose someone
yeah.
in order for it to click,
Understand. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but, you know, she knows now. She understands now, and we have those conversations now, and it's because she can't talk to her husband about it because her husband's never lost anybody.
Yeah.
So, so I've become her person to talk to about it. It's really great and helpful to have somebody else to talk to because for the longest, I didn't have anybody else to talk to about it.
I think it's great to have somebody to talk to, especially somebody that gets it, but I also think that there is so much power in the, "I don't know what to say," and it's the, "I don't really wanna talk. I just need you to sit in it with me."
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, I just need you to be around while I wallow
Right.
so that I don't unpack and live here. There's a lot of power too in I just need you to sit in it with me.
Right. Because it's so very lonely and isolating
Yeah,
when you're in it by yourself.
yeah.
Yeah. Even just having somebody else on that island with you is so helpful.
Well, and
Yeah.
sometimes, like, I don't want your opinion. You know what I'm saying? I respect it. I love you, but I don't want your opinion. I just wanna be able to kind of let it roll around in my head and figure out where I need to go with this, but I just don't wanna do it alone. I
Yeah.
don't wanna talk to you about it.
Yeah. I don't need
I
opinion.
don't
I
want
don't need advice. I don't need any of that. Can you
just
just
need you
be here?
to be there while I work through it, you know?
It's like when my mom died, we actually had to stop. We had to tell people to stop bringing food
Yeah,
because all they wanted to do was bring food. Nobody knows how to do anything else. They just want to bring food. And I mean, we had 3 refrigerators full of food, and it was me and my dad, and we were like, "We cannot, please stop."
yeah.
And I finally told somebody, they're like, "Well, we want to do something." I was like, "Can you bring me laundry detergent?" can you bring me toilet paper? Because there were
Right.
20 people here in the house and I couldn't leave. Can you bring me something like that? And then just sit here with me. That got to me. And I started telling people that afterwards about, I needed laundry detergent. I needed
I
toilet
saw a thing on
paper.
social media. They call it grief groceries.
Yeah.
They're like, just buy groceries, set it on the porch steps, text them and say, hey, I put these on your porch steps. Like,
Yeah.
let me know if you need anything or whatever. I thought, God, what a great idea, because you don't, right? You need the toilet paper because you've got 40 people in the house, and you need, dish detergent or whatever. Like, you need these
Right.
things, but you can't just run out and get it because you have 40 people in the house, or because you literally can't run out and get it. Like, you're
Right.
not getting dressed, you're not going out, you don't want to see anyone, you don't, like all the things. It
And
just
and because
I was like, that's a great idea.
right? Because even just going to the store and like going to Kroger in a small town where
Mhm.
you know everybody and like
Not a quick
people
trip.
no and like people would come up to me and like, do you know how many times I had broken down crying in the produce section at Kroger's?
Yeah.
Because people will come up to me and they're like, how are you doing? Are you okay? Are you? And I
But always
finally,
with the head tilt, right? Always with the head.
right?
Oh, how are you?
How are you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
And my response, I got to, so like my tolerance meter got to be very low
Mhm.
for certain things. And I finally just got to the point where somebody would ask me how I was doing, and I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I try and be just very short with them because they see me and I'm a small part of their day. I have to live with this 24/7.
Yeah.
I cannot answer your questions and tolerate you trying to check a box and go and tell somebody else, hey, I checked in with her. And, you know,
But also,
that,
do you really want the answer to that question? Like, when you ask
that
that, do you really want the answer to that question? No.
right,
Because I'm not okay. I haven't showered in 4 days. These are the same clothes that I've slept in for those same 4 days. You know what I mean?
right,
Like, I'm still grieving. I still don't have, my parents or my brother or whatever. Like, I don't have the same person. I'm still doing all the things. I still haven't done laundry. My house is a mess. Like, and I don't even know what I'm gonna eat. I'm wandering around Kroger because I can't remember what I'm supposed to do here because you
right.
get brain fog.
Mm-hmm.
And not only can I not remember, I can't think to put something together because I can't make a decision on what I want to actually cook. So I'm wandering around Kroger, but no, I'm not.
Right. Right. It's like, how honest would you like for me to be?
But
And you
that
answer with a head tilt.
you would have more people dropping off more food because you aren't okay and everybody needs to do something.
It's like, no, we're not okay. Like, I should have made a shirt. No, I'm not okay. This is how's my mood today? I'm not okay.
I will be, but
Right.
today's not the day,
Right.
you know?
Not today. We still have people come in our store who don't know that my dad died.
Yeah.
I mean, even like, because again, no funeral during COVID.
Right.
There wasn't a big to do. And my brother, he is not as nice with his answers. He'll be like, the man's been dead for 5 years. Like,
A little more direct. Yeah.
and I'm just like, well, he died 5 years ago. And they're like, oh, we thought he just retired. And my brother's like, he did in a way. Like, you don't, you just, you also get tired of answering the questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
But it's the same double-edged sword, right? Like, I don't wanna answer the questions, but at the same time, like, I want you to ask me about Mark.
right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Like,
Like,
don't forget about him.
yeah, don't forget about him, just don't ask me all the time. Or just people are like, "Oh, well, I didn't wanna ask because I didn't wanna bring it up for you again." I'm like, "Bring it up for me again." Like, that's part of who I am,
Like,
like,
it's with you all the time.
fine. It's not like something I leave at home, you know what I mean? Like,
You aren't going to go, oh, yeah. Hey,
right.
I forgot.
I was happy until you asked me, like, yeah, yeah.
Right. I forgot my husband died or my dad
Right,
died.
right.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, no
Thanks, lady.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah. It's people. People will be people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like my compassion has grown, but I feel kind of the same, like my fuse has not grown. right? Like I have a much shorter fuse. I'm very empathetic. I'm very compassionate. I always have been, but my fuse is also short. I can only take so many things in a day. I can only my shoulders are broad, but I can only carry X amount of things before I'm like, I cannot care about that today. I just don't have it in me. So, I mean, I guess I learned how to deal with boundaries.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I definitely learned boundaries when they died
Yeah.
because I had to maintain some sense of sanity,
Right.
you know,
Right.
between that and utilizing the do not disturb feature on my phone.
Yeah.
And people know, like a lot of my close friends know now, if it's like 7 o'clock at night, Allison probably has her sleep mode on her phone. Even if she's not asleep, it's on my phone because I have to be in a certain frame of mind to sleep,
Yeah.
or else I'm not going to sleep.
Do you go through the whole like, okay, so you have to have time to kind of like let things settle, right? Because I feel like your head's always going all day long and you have to like slow it down. But
Mm-hmm.
also I have to be very mindful about like if I'm gonna watch a movie, I have to know what the content is gonna be or I'm gonna dream about it.
Yep.
Or if I'm worried about something before I go to bed, I have to like kind of journal or some like say it out loud, do something to like lower the intensity of it before I go to
Yeah.
bed, dream about it.
Yeah.
And then I can't sleep at all because I'm still trying to work out whatever I was trying to work out.
I can't watch there are certain movies, TV shows, things like that. Well, just that I can't watch anymore. But
Right.
I do so much better watching them earlier in the day,
Yeah. Then
like
before
first
bed.
thing in the morning. Like I would rather watch a scary movie at 8 a.m. than start something at night because things stay with me longer
Yeah.
than they used to. And things affect me more than they used to. I can't watch something where, you know, I need to know, is somebody gonna die?
Yeah.
Is a dog gonna die?
Oh yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
yeah, I have to go like because it stays with me. Or I just, I have to turn it off. I can't, yeah, I can't deal with that stuff. And especially right before I go to sleep.
There are moments that I feel like I have to cry, you know? Like I'll watch something on purpose so that I can kind of bawl my eyes out to like just get that relief sort of.
Yeah.
But again, it would be 2 in the afternoon. Like, it can't be 9 o'clock. It can't be before I go to bed or something like that. It just yeah, it does stay with you so much longer. But I kinda like that too. I have to know what's gonna happen next. I really wanna have control of everything in life, right? Like, I wanna know what's coming next. I wanna be able to prepare. Even, like, I think of every possible circumstance of things that can happen, and then if it happens before I'm done worrying about it, I'm like, "Wait, I didn't worry about that yet." Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do because I didn't
Right.
worry about that yet, you know?
Right.
And so that's the same for me. If I know it's coming, then I can decide if I'm in the headspace to deal with that or not. But it definitely stays with you a
Mhm.
lot longer and then manifests in different ways, right? Either not sleeping or like you just become overly sensitive to something or you just can't stop thinking about it or whatever, it manifests for me differently
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, it will send me into whether you want to call it an anxiety attack or panic attack or something if
Yeah.
I keep dwelling on it.
Yeah.
And then I can't function because then that's all that
Yeah.
I
You
am
can't stop
focused
the
on.
spiral, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Oh yeah. So I'm all about spoilers now. I will look up everything. Even if it's a book, if it's a book that I want to read, I have to look and I have to see like, okay, well, what's the outcome of this book? What, what are the major, because I can't. And I think when you've dealt with things that are so horrible and tragic in real life, you look for that more, you see that more. Like you say, you sort of become more empathetic to things. And so my empathy level just goes sky high when even if I see like a TV show and these characters going through something, that's going to trigger me just all of a sudden breaking out into tears and crying for however long.
Yeah, and I want to think that I have control of a situation, but everything in my life that has been a defining moment, I have had 0 control. right? But I think that that's why I want the control, right? Because there's so many things that happened that I didn't and I just had to deal with. So that's why I go through all of the scenarios so that I can be ready for what's coming next. Although even no matter what I worry about, it's always something I haven't
Yeah.
figured out yet, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You play through all these scenarios in your head. And I guess that's part of like a trauma response too, is like you're wanting to be prepared for worst case scenario. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where my brain goes is I want to be prepared so that I don't get blindsided again.
Yes. Yeah. Like I'll deal with it. It may still be hard, but I don't want to go through like the whole bam, now what? You know, it's so odd to me to think like you were here yesterday and you're just don't exist anymore. Like that kind of thing. It's so weird to me that it can happen that fast and it just changes everything. Like every little aspect, right? It changes everything. And
Mm.
so I yearn for the control, but in the same way of doing that, it's the same as wanting approval from somebody you're never going to get it from. You know what I mean? Like I'm never going to have that control. It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But I'll be damned if I don't try to do it anyways, you know?